Hi there fabric jugglers, it's Babs here from Fiery Phoenix, and today I'm going to be taking you through my trick to change the colour of the threads from one to another. Hopefully without having to rethread in a complicated fashion, definitely without needing to use any power for the actual serger or overlocker, and hopefully this will make that process far less painful for you and far more simple, which means that you'll feel happier about going out and serging or overlocking new projects. So if you stick around, I'll just gather up my extra reels of thread and some scissors and we can get cracking. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to be cutting through the threads as they hang off of the overhead holder. It's not really a thread tensioner, but it is still part of the whole tensioning process. So we simply snip those away so we've got lots of length left, and then switch out the threads. Take away the old threads, and then we can start moving in with the new ones. And simply take over the new thread and tie it. We don't want the world's most complicated knot, but we just need to tie it together. And then up and over. Not sure whether you can hear all the birds in the background. We've got a lovely chirping collection as the birds are getting ready to migrate away. And here we have another. Just tie it through. All of this will be snipped away and cleared out towards the end of this process. So we don't need to make it beautiful. We just need to make sure that it's sturdy. A nice solid knot. Okay, so we now have, if we pull this back, we now have the old thread and the new thread on the hangers. And what we're going to be doing is making a note of all of these tensions. Now for me it's very easy, they're all set to 3. And what we're going to do is set those down low. And for this piece I'm going to actually move the camera in a bit closer so you can see what I'm actually doing. What I've done is turn the serger around so that you can get a clearer view of the back portion of the overlocker or serger machine itself, so that you can see what's happening as I pull these knots through the first part of the tensioning, and also to say very clearly that you need to be aware of where the threads are running in relation to the handle. They should be running underneath the handle, they shouldn't be over the top. I caused myself all sorts of issues when I rethreaded this for the first time, and I was actually running the thread underneath the tensioning hooks at the back and over the top of the handle, which meant that all my tensioning was being completely destroyed by running over the top of the handle, which was an incredibly basic mistake to make, and I'd hate for you to go ahead and make the same mistake that I did. So I'm just giving you that little tip there. So what we're going to do is we've set the tension discs to 0, and we're going to gently pull, very gently. We've released the presser foot and we're going to gently pull the thread through the serger, and as you can see these knots are now starting to move, and what we're going to do is make sure that they're actually past this point, the point of this little hook, and then we can rethread that hook as we would expect it to be. Some tension goes underneath, and we just need to help the knots through. Some of them will just run straight through like this one has done, and others will need a little bit of assistance, as I suspect this one will do. So we'll just give that a gentle tug, and that's not going to go through. So what I'll do is, as I did on this one, take that out and just slide it under well past the actual knot itself, which means that everything else will then be able to be drawn smoothly through. Now I'll switch it all back round so you can see the front of the machine. So here you can see all of the tension dials are still set to 0, and until I know that all the threads have actually passed, all the knots have passed through those tension discs, I'm not going to change them. So I'll leave that to the very end. Now if everything goes horribly wrong, I will need to recreate this Whoops. If it all goes horribly wrong, I'm going to need to recreate this threading, but this tutorial is about avoiding this threading. Now, as you can see, hopefully these threads are already starting to come through into the correct areas. I'm going to keep the presser foot raised, and where I've pulled this through, you can see that we've gone from having the overlock chain stitch through to just plain through to plain threads where nothing is tied into each other. What I'm going to do is actually snip that short, which will then allow me to pull on individual threads to try and draw them through the serger in the order that you would normally thread them. I say that, but finding which thread is which when you've got 4 the same colour is not necessarily easy. So I simply separate out the 4 strands, and then I will just gently tug one at a time to see which one is moving. So this is the second one in. So I'll bring the knot down, but I won't be able to thread that through the needle, so I'll leave that to one side for the moment. And here we have, this is moving. So here we have thread number 1, which is the first thread that you would normally take through a machine. So that is now through, which is excellent news. No rethreading for thread number 1. Here we have thread number 2, which again, if I'm gentle and smooth, that will come through nicely. Excellent. So that's the 2 bottom portions now completely rethreaded, and we haven't had to look at this instruction once. So we'll close that and pretend it doesn't exist. And then we'll move on to actually threading the needles. So I'm just going to manually turn that thread forward so we can now see the needles. I probably will need to have this down, whoops, so that I can actually move the cutting blade out of the way while I thread the needles. We can try to gently ease the knot through, but the knot's gonna, it won't pull through the through the needle. So what we'll need to do is move the thread out, make sure the other one isn't caught up as well, which it looks like it is at the minute. There we go. That's what happens when we release tension. And then we'll have to unthread this. So we'll just pull the original thread out. Won't get too confused with anything else. And then we'll trim that away and thread the needle, which I'm trying to do around the side of the camera at the wrong angle. So please bear with me. So that's the first one threaded, and now we need to do the same process for the second thread. And so we simply pull this through, gently move it through the tension discs. You can see the knot, so we'll cut that away. And my pin is magnetised to my scissors, which is handy in one respect, but quite irritating in another. And then we'll try and thread this through quickly. So now we have both of those threaded through. So we have both the needles threaded and we have both of the under needles threaded. So we'll pop the blade back into position. We will remember to adjust our tension back to where it should be, which in my case was a 3. And then I will run a test sample through. I've just noticed that that isn't actually in the feeder properly, so we'll just pop that back through the feeder, and then I will run a test through the machine. Drop the presser foot down, and let's see. And there we have a very bouncy camera, and we have our ready threaded chain, all ready to be used on your next sewing project without having to go through the incredibly painful process of rethreading your serger. So I hope that this was of use to you. I hope that it's going to give you some incentive and encouragement to get your serger out and use your overlocker. It is a very straightforward process to change those threads. Please give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and give it a great big fat thumbs up, and share it around with anybody who's having difficulty with their sergers. I will do a separate recording shortly on how to thread your machine from scratch. I'll use 4 different threads so that you can follow along, and hopefully that will be nice and clear for you. But for today, I think that's enough, and I will see you around soon. Bye for now.